Okay, so let's get started again. Welcome. Thanks again for being connected with OLLI at HSU. I want to thank you for being here today, and thank you to all of our presenters. OLLI is a membership-based organization, and if you are not currently an OLLI member, may I encourage you to join. We are about half our membership this year, and we really would like to get up to our full 1,000 members. If you're sharing a membership with a friend or family member, it would be nice if you could join us this year so that we can reach our 1,000 member goal. We really appreciate that. This brown bag presentation is brought to you today, made possible by the Friends of OLLI at HSU, and friends are anybody who gives any kind of donation to OLLI of any amount. So we thank you all, the Friends of OLLI, for making this brown bag presentation possible. Another way to stay connected with OLLI is with Tracey Barnes-Priestley, on the Friday Let's Connect groups. And those are discussion groups that meet every Friday with new topics, and we send out that information weekly. I'm encouraging you also, if you are an OLLI member or not, and you are taking OLLI classes, please, please, please sign up early. We have lots of people signing up for classes, and it is a manual process. So it does sometimes take more than just submit and get enrolled in the class, and then we need to get you the link to the Zoom meeting sent. So if you ever have had problems getting into an OLLI class, that could be the reason why. We are so thrilled to have lots of people joining us for our classes, but we want to make sure that you register early. And then this is how you can get a hold of OLLI. The best way is to send us an email. You can call, but when you call, that email goes straight to, or that voicemail goes straight to our email account. So email is the best way to get a hold of us, and we do return those calls as soon as we possibly can. So again, I want to thank you for being here today. I believe we should ask you all at this time to mute yourself. If you have questions, you can either raise your hand or you can put your question in the chat, and I will be happy to get that question to Tracey during the presentation. If you don't mute yourself, that's okay. If you start making noise, I will go ahead and mute. You myself. So enjoy today's presentation. I'd like to invite Jane, one of our OLLI curriculum committee members, who helps coordinate these and manage these brown bag presentations, to go ahead and introduce our guest today. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the show.
And I'm very happy to welcome Tracey Barnes-Priestley, many of whom of you know her. She has a master's and is a life coach in community, is a life coach with a master's degree in community counseling psychology, and with more than 40 years of experience as a counselor, educator, and consultant. After closing her private practice, she continues to write about life on her blog, The Second Half. She is appreciating a richly satisfying third act that includes everything from producing and hosting a PBS television show to polishing her second novel and loving her 5 amazing grandkids. Yeah. And of course, she now has this wonderful new production on KEET television, starting this coming Thursday at 7:30, I think.
That's right.
7:30. And we're looking forward to it. And a number of the people who are featured on that are with us today. So we look forward to this presentation. And on we go, Tracey.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for joining. I mean, this is so much fun for all of us living through a pandemic. I'm glad we have the opportunity to connect. Am I on? Because I'm not getting the yellow box. Okay. I think one little note about my background, because I think there's clearly a running theme through all of the things that I've done throughout my career, and that is I love stories. I love storytelling. I appreciate stories. I think it's storytelling is one of the first ways, obviously, we learned anything and everything. So whether it was writing, whether it was putting on shows with the Boomer Troupe that OLLI supported. So television for me was in some ways a quantum leap, but it was also, it's proven to be a really comfortable medium for me because it is all about telling the stories. I think that before we go on, I really want to introduce, wave when I say your name, and I can't see everybody, which is frustrating me. But let me introduce Jan Ostrom. Jan, say hello. There she is. Jan is my friend and a producer on this show. I would be sunk without her. She has an MFA from UCLA, was what, 12 years with NBC in Los Angeles, and has taught at the university level, community college and university level in film and television. So I have been known to joke that she's the brains of the outfit. I'm the brawn, but she's also just a dear and a really good friend. So thank you, Jan. Let's see, Evelyn, where's Evelyn? Just, there we go. Evelyn Lagerge is with us. She is appearing, she with Mike Zapena. Would you say hello, Mike? You will see them Thursday night in our first show. And we'll talk about what they actually did for us a little bit later. Paul, there's Paul Ricard and Karen. Karen, are you there? Where's Karen? Karen? There she is. Okay, Karen is another guest, and they are week 3. So we'll be talking to them at the end, but obviously none of this would have happened without all of these wonderful people helping me. The one person who isn't here, and I let him off the hook, is Sam Green. Sam is just an all-around good guy, and he's down at KEET. He produces, directs, edits. He does it all, cameraman. And he's really, really just, I think, a good human being. So Sam and Jan and I were the core team. Let's start with really talking about why this topic. I know for me, the irony is I've really never had an official bucket list per se, because I've always been one of these people that I think of something I want to do, and then I start planning to do it. I like having something to look forward to. I like having goals. I like working towards stuff, checking things off as I go. So I've always had a pretty full list. And I suppose some people would say, well, yeah, that counts as a bucket list. But one of the things I noticed in my practice, I started focusing on aging issues when I turned about 50, because it was like starting to take on a different feel. And now at 69, it's like, oh yeah, it's very different. But I started noticing how often people stop themselves from pursuing their dreams. And they didn't have to be big dreams. They could just be little dreams. And there were lots of reasons that we do this. Sometimes it's financial. Sometimes it's you don't even know who to call to make it happen. Or perhaps you are afraid. And there's that voice inside of you that says, well, you can't do that. You know, and it's easy to listen to that voice. So having a bucket list is one way to approach that and kind of systematically try to get to where you want to go, even in the middle of a pandemic. So I think maybe even more in the middle of a pandemic, because we need things to look forward to, right? So the thing that happens with age is I think we can have a tendency that our world starts to shrink, starts getting a little bit, you know, and then we have physical issues, or we just stop doing things and we feel out of practice. And so sometimes it's pretty easy to get stuck behind this. So I think that has been a mainstay of my work, is really helping people identify what they want to accomplish in the world, and then figuring out what resources they need, what support they need. And I tell you, when a person gets to do what they've dreamed of doing, there is no better payoff. So that's why this topic is near and dear to me. But I also wanted to tell you how the whole show came about. In 2015, I think it was, I approached KEET. I was writing my column for the paper at the time, the second half. And I had this idea that older people have wisdom. We've learned from our experiences, our mistakes, our successes, our failures. And that's what wisdom is all about. And I wanted to do a show just shining a spotlight on some folks. And KEET said yes. This was before David Gordon was there. KEET said yes, and they sent me off. They gave me Sam, which was great. Jan was along for the ride. And we did a 6-episode conversations. They were all shot inside, maybe 2 cameras, oftentimes just 1. And it was great. It was met with a real positive reception from the community. So did that. And then there was just this naggy. I missed working with Jan and Sam, and I wanted to do more. So called up both of them and said, let's have lunch. This was, I don't know, maybe a year after things had we'd wrapped that one. We met at Golden Harvest in Eureka. We had lunch and we just couldn't come up with something. And Sam said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, in a perfect world, we'd go outside. We'd take people outside and we'd do something outside. And I knew it would be people at least 60, because again, I wanted to showcase this age group and the possibilities we have, but we may not realize we have them. But I couldn't articulate what that was about. So we had our lunch and it was great to see each other and we laughed and it was really wonderful. And then we're walking out the door and, you know, it was a bolt of lightning. I don't even know where it came from. What's on your bucket list? It was just like that. I thought, oh, this is great. Okay. And we'll pick older people and we live in a beautiful, so I got going and it's probably good my husband isn't here, because when I get an idea, I just run with it. And he just hangs on for the ride sometimes. So we, I started thinking about everything, what that would involve and what wasn't, you know, I knew enough about television at that point to know that I was kind of asking for the moon in terms of technology. And I thought, well, I hadn't met David yet. And I didn't even know how to make a formal pitch. So I think, I don't know, Jan, I know I called my son. My son has a video and film production in Portland. And I said, okay, I got a new idea. What do I do? And he says, well, you have to write a treatment, Mom. And I said, what's a treatment? And he said, look it up. So I went online, sure enough, you know, how to write a treatment, 1A. So I started, it's basically a summary of what you want the station to consider supporting. And the first thing was the concept, how I envisioned this. I saw this as probably about 6 episodes with I didn't know if it would be 6 people or 12 people, but I basically explained that we wanted to ask people what their dreams were and then fulfill them. So that was the concept. Then the rationale, which of course I've gone over, but I really wanted to model and promote healthy aging. I think all of us have certainly experienced the stereotypes of aging, feeling invisible or feeling, you know, kind of that, well, you can't do that because you're old kind of a feeling. And I want to be a myth buster, because we are aging in a way that's so much different than how our parents and grandparents aged. So I thought, let's put something on that shows people having fun, shows people taking risks, shows people accomplishing things. And what better place to do it than in Humboldt County, which led me to another rationale, which was partnering with local businesses, agencies, and organizations that obviously would be required. We could match people to the activity and send them on their way. So that was all the rationale. Well, I got it all written up. That part wasn't too hard. I've written grants. I mean, I've been a nonfiction writer for years, but then I got hit with the nervous stick, because I felt like I have to walk in. I don't know this man. What's he gonna think? Right? All that stuff. Yeah, that's you, mister. And all that, I thought, I don't know how to pitch. This is like, I was asking for so much more than the first show. And I guess I knew enough by then to know I was asking for so much more. So I set the meeting with David and got there, and Sam met me downstairs and he said, oh yeah, I already told him. I went, huh. So that was really great, David, that I just walked in and then we had a very easy, fun, you know, and you were great.
A good idea is a good idea. What can I say?
Well, thank you, because I felt it in my gut, but you're the guy who has to figure out the money and the crew and, you know, all of those things that makes this happen. So thank you. And I want all of the rest of you to know that we are really, really lucky to have David at the helm, because KEET, I'm going to say KEET just kind of picked up when you arrive, sir. You see things, I think, differently than maybe predecessors have, and you really believe in local stories. So thank you, because it wouldn't have happened without you.
Well, I'm glad to help because it's a worthwhile project and I'm just glad we were able to make it happen.
Okay, well, the other thing that fell into place was we have OLLI certainly as supporting this endeavor, supporting us through however they can market it and publicize it. I know they behind the scenes, they've been doing an awful lot of that for us. And I'm happy to say that we are being underwritten by Area 1 Agency on Aging. So they have signed on to underwrite, which is really wonderful. Again, that kind of community support. So the pieces were starting to the very preliminary pieces were falling into place. I think, so now let's give you, some of you may have seen the promo, but now we're gonna, Kim, let's run the promo. Here we go.
Welcome to What's on Your Bucket List. When we asked people over 60 this question, we got so many enthusiastic answers. Some wanted a bit of a challenge. Others were just curious to try something new. And while their bucket lists were all very different, the outcome was often very much the same. People felt accomplished, gratified, and happy. What's on Your Bucket List premieres Thursday, January 28th at 7:30 on KEET HD.
There you have it. Okay, so how does one produce a television show? Well, I was learning trial by fire, I want to tell you. The first thing we needed, obviously, were people. How are we going to get people who will do this? And will people want to do this? So I wrote about it in my column, put the word out that way, and shot a 30-minute promo for KEET. And again, throughout all of this, I'm just going to tell you what I've learned, because it's been such a process that here I am 69 learning I love it. I love learning all this stuff. I'd never done a promo. Sam said, oh, you come into the station pre-COVID, we'll put it on the prompter, you just read it. And I said, okay, let's do this. The downside of that was my mom had died about 5 days before we shot that. And I woke up that morning with a migraine. But I thought, you know what? The show must go on, right? So shot the promo. Nobody seemed to think that it was okay. And then the best thing started happening. We started getting calls and people wanted to apply. And it was really exciting. So meanwhile, Jan and I were like coming up with questions, like exactly what are we going for here? One of the questionnaires. So we were, you know, why are you interested in being on the show? Name 3 things on your bucket list in Humboldt County. Obviously, we had to limit it to Humboldt County. We also included, we brainstormed just a whole list of fun things, just because sometimes people, I don't know about the rest of you, I've lived here so long that I take a lot of things for granted. You know, I don't know how many times we've been on location for the show and people say, I've never been here before. So that's one of the fun things about this show. I asked, why haven't you checked any of these activities off of your bucket list yet? And we wanted to know what was getting in the way for people to do this, and some interesting reasoning there. And then finally, some physical limitation. You know, are there any physical limitations? Because we were really committed to working around those and making those happen, even if it felt like it was a hurdle for the individual. So Jan and I started collecting. We just started, and they started coming in between 50 and 60. We lost count of how many people applied. And it was really fun to read these, folks. One woman wanted to have a cello, learn how to play cello. We had to start narrowing down the scope because we knew we had to narrow it down to 12 people. And so we were looking for a combination of variety in the topics, as well as if we could pull it off. But there were also some, and I asked Jan, the one that sticks out in my mind was from the man who really wanted to go on the Coast Guard cutter over the bar during a storm. Well, I'm a boater, and I knew that was not going to happen. And I didn't figure KEET had the liability insurance to make that happen. And I also figured we couldn't get the Coast Guard maybe to participate with us on that one. So Jan, can you remember any others that?
Well, I do remember one that was similar to that. Was a man who wanted to zip line over a big lagoon.
Yeah.
We didn't go for that one.
No.
Then there was a woman who didn't really get the whole concept and wanted us to take her to Madagascar.
Yeah.
We had to pass on that one too.
Yeah. So we just put our heads together and we would go everyone. We'd go all the way through them and kind of like this patchwork of, well, there's this one. And it was great because people asked us for 3. This person wanted to try local theater. Somebody else wanted to try ceramics. So we had, I think that's what was so fun for me, was seeing how broad a spectrum the interests were right here in Humboldt County, you know. So we finally narrowed our list down to about 22 people, if I remember. And then we were going to start setting up interviews because we needed to, you know, get a feel for who these people were. That, you know, there were just other considerations. What was the chemistry? What was it going to be like? What was their motivation? So we definitely needed to start meeting with folks. And I think Jan, we're talking about some of the nuts and bolts. Can you give a quick, you know, what does a producer do when producing a television show?
Well, producer produces. If you're a farmer, you produce apples. If you're a milliner, you produce hats. If you're in theater, film, or television, you produce a show. It's kind of like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland saying, hey, let's have a show in the barn. We can do this. And getting together then, you need somebody who's going to head the whole thing. And that turns out to be our friend David Gordon, who is our executive producer. Mm-hmm. Executive producer is usually the person who funds the project, who green lights the project and says, yeah, I believe in this. I think it's a good idea. We can get some resources behind it and let's go do it. And then that executive producer says, we need a producer. Well, that's Tracey, and Tracey needed some help. So there I was. And essentially what you do is you do exactly what Tracey was talking about. We brainstormed. We got together with an outline, we contacted people, we interviewed people, we tried to think of every possibility of how we could do something. There were some that were obvious that we couldn't, like ziplining over Big Lagoon, but some with a little bit of manipulation right here in Humboldt County, we could do it. And we got such wonderful cooperation from everyone, like Richard, like the Crabs, like Eric Hollenbeck at the Blue Ox. Everybody wanted to join in. And so then it was working out the details. When could we shoot? When is Sam free? When are we free? When is our person free? And when is the weather going to work for us? Because here we are in Humboldt County.
That's and I think that was a real eye-opener for me in terms of how much Jan and I really did just to get us to the point when we could start shooting. The phone calls, the emails, the calls. And I want to really support the point you make about community support, because every person I called to say, well, Paul, let me introduce Paul Ricard here. Many of you recognize a wonderful artist. But we would just call people cold and say, this is what we're doing, and this person wants this, and are you in? And I don't know that we had anybody say no. Do you, Jan? I don't.
No, not one person said they couldn't do it. And not one person ever said, you're going to have to pay me for all that time and effort I'm going to put in.
That's
Nobody
right.
ever said that.
Yeah, that's the kind of community we live in. I mean, and again, so we ended up with our 12 people. We had 2 alternates just in case. We ended up using one of those because one of our guests had health issues. So, okay, we finally got everybody lined up and ready to go. And then it was time to go out there and do it. This is a really good point to mention again, that we shot all of the footage you will see on the show. Well, I'll get to some of it, but the main stories were all shot pre-COVID. Had filmed, I guess we'd shot all of them before shutdown last March. So we had we had everything shot, and we're gonna, on every show you watch, there's gonna be that notice, because I've already been hearing from people on Facebook, kind of like, how did you do this? So it's really important that you know, and that you tell friends and family, we weren't taking any stupid chances. We're old enough to know better. We're old enough to know better. That's the key word there. So Jan and I would pull together all the questions, and she'd show up with water. We tried to do, I'd show up with donuts. I mean, we're just bringing everything together. And I have to tell you, the first couple of shows that we shot, I was nervous because, again, I'm wearing a different hat. And Jan was my cue card girl. We had cue cards. She would hold them up. And then after maybe the first or second one, I thought, oh my God, I've been interviewing people my entire career. Give it a break, Trace, you know. And I was able to settle into the process and relax. So fortunately, Jan got relieved of that job. And I also got more comfortable with just filming television. And I would tell each of my guests, the beauty of television is we can just say stop. If you want to change your answer, if you want to blow your nose, if, you know, whatever, we just say stop. And I think that was a helpful message for them. And it was really, once I was able to see, oh, this is not like I've done live theater, where if you forget a line, you better know how to cover it. My son had a huge solo in a stage production, and he was singing the song from Camelot. And there he was magnificently, and all of a sudden he's singing la 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 la, because he'd forgotten the words, but we heard a lot of la la la. But the beauty of television is, no, you can just do whatever you want. So I started to relax into the process. Then the weather cooperated every time. That's what blew my mind, is the weather really cooperated. It may have been cold, but it was clear and beautiful wherever we went. We had a couple of cloudy days, but they weren't cold days. So you can imagine how gratifying in Humboldt County that was. And we had some extraordinarily beautiful days, unseasonal, you know, March, a day like just exquisite day in March. So the weather cooperated. And I have to tell you folks, every time Sam said action, and once I kind of got my feet under me, it was so gratifying to be along for the ride, to really watch what unfolded for our guests. And as they got to check something off their bucket list and what it was like for them, and that vicarious thrill of bringing a person and his or her wish together so they could experience it, was really, really, for me, the greatest joy of this whole production. That we had such great people, right, Jan? I mean, just such great people that we were getting to hang out with. So we'd go off and shoot for maybe 2 to 3 hours. Everyone was about a 2 to 3 hour. Sometimes we had 2 cameras, 3 cameras. We were fortunate enough in some to have a drone footage, which is exquisite. Wait till you see. So each one went through that kind of a process, and you learn, plus there's, it's called all of that, or not all of that, but you have what's called B-roll, which can be video or stills. Jan, you want to explain B-roll, how we use it?
Sure. A-roll, what is called A-roll, is your basic structure of your show, your interviews. You're talking to people. But you don't just want to sit on that person's face or your own face or the two of you for the whole entire time. You want to augment what that person is saying. So when that person you're talking to says, well, when I was 5 years old, I fell into a volcano, then you want to see pictures of that volcano. And that's what I did. I got the pictures.
Yeah, she did. She was
That's B-roll.
Yeah, and she was like a dog with the bone, boy. If we needed a picture of this, Jan said, I'll go get it, you know, and as recently as last week, she was shooting a little, some B-roll for us because we were just, you know, we just needed to drop that in at a certain spot and it was perfect. So we get everything shot, we get all of our footage, and then drum roll comes editing. Now, editing is where it all comes together. This is the storytelling part that I just love. And this is where I appreciate Sam in particular, because he took a complete novice, and between Sam and Jan, they allowed me to learn by doing. I think, again, because I'm a writer, it was easy for me to conceptualize how I wanted a story to be told, but getting from that to down to what, 12 minutes, most of our, they're like, you know, so we're taking 3 hours of footage, editing it down to 12 minutes, right?
And it has to make, and after we do that, it has to make sense.
Right. And then actually we do it again and again and again to fine tune it. So, you know, I mean, each, what would you say? Each episode, we probably go through, I don't know, 7 times, 10 times.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah,
I would say, to me, editing is like doing a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
You sit down and you have all the pieces before you, and you say, well, this one fits here and this one fits there. But the difference is we have many ways that these pieces can fit in, not just one way. So we have to go over and over and over using our interview and the audio part that explains what we're doing, and match that then with the visuals. And there's way more than one way to do that, and that takes a long time.
Yeah, really, really long time. So the first step, very first step is Jan and I would watch, Sam would send us footage. Jan and I would watch it at home, and then we'd get together, watch it together, and then we do a timesheet. Jan, you want to take that, a timesheet?
This is and I would have to say that during the pandemic, this is a very difficult way to edit, because you can imagine if you're doing a puzzle with somebody and you've got it in front of you, but that person is in New York and you're in Eureka. So then you've got to see what you're doing and you've got to compare what you're doing. And it would take us quite a while to do that. In order to make sense of the whole thing, what we did was we selected, you're probably familiar with this term, sound bites. You know how the news will take a sentence and stick it up there and use it during the story. Well, we took a whole lot of sound bites, some of them not necessarily in chronological order even. And we took one and we put it here and we said, okay, that person said that. We want to follow up with what happened then, and we put that one on there. Sam has sent us this via the internet tubes, as they say, with time code on the bottom, which is hours, minutes, seconds, which runs at the bottom of the picture, that you don't see when we're through, but that we could see for an hour, minute, second of every frame of everything we shot. So if someone says, I wanted to go to the store today, our in cue would be I, and we would put down the time that happened, and our out cue would be store today, and we would put the time that happened. We put that on a piece of paper. Sam takes that, he takes that piece of video and he lays that down, and that's how we hook them all together, and that's how editing works.
And that's the very first step for us. And we were able to start editing together. We were at least able to do the timesheets before the pandemic hit, which was probably saved us, because under normal circumstances, you go down to the station, there's an editing room. It's tiny, but we fit in there. I think Sam has 3 different monitors. I mean, and it's like Jan used a great metaphor, a jigsaw puzzle, but it's all in front of you and you're all in the same room at the same time. So we had the time codes. We knew all of the ins and outs, and Sam had given us a rough cut. Then it became, now, how do we polish these? Because we're not going to go to the studio. Now, to KEET's credit and David's credit, the studio has very strict protocols. They're taking your temperature. They're taking an in and out sheet. Masks are required, social distancing. But as our numbers increased, and I'm 69, Jan just turned 75. Your mic, Jan.
I'm keeping it at 75 forever. If
Okay.
Jack Benny can do it, so can I.
Okay, so it just became apparent that for us to be in the studio editing under those circumstances were probably may have been okay, but it wasn't a risk I wanted to put any of us. So then it became I call it the Rube Goldberg approach to editing. I figured out I've been Google Meeting with my family, figured out how to present. Then my computer stopped functioning, so Jan figured out how to present. And from the privacy of our own homes, we knuckled down and continued to edit each and every episode. And it was not easy, it was not ideal, but I think it's a testament of how well Sam and Jan and I work together that we could pull it off, frankly. Jan would take copious notes, and then I give her credit, she would write out a script for every episode and email that to us, and then put in where we wanted maybe still photographs. We'd decide where we'd want to drop in still pictures. If maybe there was a piece of video that came at the very end and we decided, no, let's move it to the front. So thanks to Jan, who was able, because I could not have done that. I don't have the training to do that. But Jan was able to write scripts that made sense to dear old Sam, and she'd send them down there. And that's how we've been working ever since the pandemic hit. So it has been jigsaw puzzle from the privacy of our own home. Okay, so we get all that. Oh, we're gonna run out of time. There were still like voiceovers to do, segues to do, those voiceovers that you take a bunch of information and you condense it down. So I had to write all the voiceovers. We did shoot those out, just within the last few weeks, but we were careful and smart, and people were very respectful, and it was not a problem in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
So,
we did have that one problem.
oh, we did. Yeah, we did have one. We were in Arcata, and the one lone fireman was unloading probably 20 feet away a trailer of rocks with a shovel, one shovel at a time.
Well, we're trying to record.
Well, we're trying to record, and then there were cars going by. So first of all, you have to stop and wait for the cars. Okay, go. And then he'd be shoveling, and okay, stop. So that was our biggest challenge. But other than that, we went all around and we got those all done. And the voiceovers, we did go down to the studio. We were out in the main hall, in the main studio itself. So we were, again, I felt perfectly safe. I felt we were very distant and doors were open. So we did the voiceovers. So I think that's pretty much how you do a television show, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions at this point before we get to the rest, our guests? Anybody want any clarification? I can't. And Kim, I guess you can see if people have questions.
There's no questions in the chat right now, and I haven't seen anyone raising their hands. So.
Okay, all right. Anybody? If not, we will move on. I just came over to the other chat, and there's all these people I haven't even said hello to yet. I can't believe it. Hi, everybody. So what I thought would be fun today, especially, was for you to get a little taste of what you are in store for. And that's why I've invited Evelyn and Mike and Karen and Paul to us today. Let's go up first. Kim, can we do that first clip with Evelyn and Mike, please?
Away we go.
Okay.
Yes. Nice. You got it, Evelyn. That's perfect.
Wow.
And our cadence is great.
Okay. Oh, it is so beautiful.
Isn't this be pretty?
All right, thanks, Kim.
Evelyn, you couldn't have picked a better day.
Okay, so yeah, how about that? How about those two? Yeah, Evelyn, can you unmic yourself, please? You need to.
I did. Wow. Wow.
You have. Yeah, this is the first time, Evelyn. Mike, are you on my screen? Oh, I want to see Mike. There you are. Great. Okay. Yeah, Mike was our guide. Mike's with HSU Center Activities. And Evelyn, well, you survived seeing yourself.
Oh my gosh. It's just incredible. Oh, no words. Oh.
Well, I don't know if either of you can remember your reaction when you got, I don't know who called whom, but Evelyn, when you got the phone call that we wanted to come meet you, do you remember what that was like?
Unbelievable. Incredible. I totally surprised and appreciative. And then I felt guilty.
Guilty? How come?
Because it meant someone else might not be going. I wanted everyone to be able to participate.
Well, and I will say, Evelyn, one of the things Evelyn wanted to do was do a flyover of Humboldt County and look at all the places she and her husband had backpacked over their lives together. And I just thought, oh, that would be exquisite. It would be fun. It would be great to, do you think I could get somebody to loan me a plane and a pilot? I mean, so we couldn't make that happen, but then this was on the list. So we said, would you be willing to do this? And we didn't get any pushback. You were happy to go kayaking, right?
Oh, yes, a long time. It was a long time desire. I never dreamed I'd get to do it. Never.
Yeah, yeah. And then Mike, for you, I think Jan called you, right?
You did. I think I got a text or something from Kim initially, would you do it? And it was like immediately, oh, are you kidding me? Of course I'll do this. And I had the good fortune. I called Evelyn. I hadn't met her. It was before the event. And we had this conversation and I fell in love on the phone because she was just fabulous. And then to meet her on the day of the event was just so incredible.
Somebody's phone. Yeah.
One thing I'll point out, if you look at that kayak that we have, one thing that's really important to note is that the cockpits are 6 feet apart, which means that Evelyn and I have been able to get out on the water during the pandemic.
Yeah, speak to that a little bit more because you two have been out a couple times, right? Since
we have.
then?
Yeah, we have.
Where have you gone, Evelyn?
In the bay, through the Narrows. Mike will use the real terms, but through the weeds to the island, to Whidbey Island, around under the bridge. Mike, tell them the route.
What we've done is you really look for a high tide and you want to launch about an hour from high tide. We go from the Adorney Center or, to the HVAC dock. And when you do that, you can get into like the little channels on Whidbey Island, but really it's fabulous when you get over to Dulawat. And with that much water, you can explore all these channels and the number of birds you see on lawn there is just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. So.
Well, and I think that I want to give a special nod, Mike, because you teach for OLLI, among other people, but you teach for OLLI regularly. And once COVID's over, I hope you will be back teaching for OLLI.
I do too. So I would like to share one story that was,
yes.
There are two highlights of the day. I already said the first one was Evelyn. When we were finishing the shoot, we were coming back, we were maybe 150 yards from, where we're going to come out. And Evelyn said to me, she says, would you stop paddling? And I said, sure. And I thought what she was doing, because we did this out there, was sometimes we'd talk. A lot of times she would just say, stop, because she'd spot a bird. And we'd be very quiet, because we both really enjoyed just the moment of seeing the. And I thought, oh, do you see a bird? She says, no. She said, I don't want you to paddle. I want to take us home. I said to her, there was a drone over the top of us. I said, you know, if we do that, I'm going to look really awful. I'm not paddling the back and you're paddling. She just, I think you can handle that. And I said, I think so. So we paddled into the shore and then we gave big hugs. And then I'll never forget, because we went up to the crew, everybody there was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, don't give this away.
Don't give it away.
I think I know where you're going, and I'm going to ask you not to give that away.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I agree, which is why I'm pretty sure I know where you're going and why it's included in the episode, because it ended on such a high note for all of us. That we had to include it. We really had to include it. So you'll have to tune in Thursday night to see what we're talking about. Okay. All right. Any questions if anybody has of Evelyn and Mike? Anybody?
Jane has a question.
Who has a question?
Mike, center activities, is it going to continue to happen, and do you continue to be engaged in that because it got shut down for a period?
No, we don't know, to be honest. There were some meetings this week, and I'm surprised I'm still on the payroll. I'm not getting paid, and because I'm a part-time guide. I mean, what happened was there was a program we put together with our kayak club and the university several years ago to teach classes on the bay. It's been really successful, but I don't know what I'm hoping that it comes back. We probably won't know. The idea is if it comes back, it'll probably be in the fall, and we just don't know, unfortunately.
I thought it had been delegated to a department in the university and that it was going to continue.
It may. It's just there's just a lot of things to be worked out, and so the person that I work for is Desdene, and I wish I could give you more information. It just seems pretty confusing to me right now, but I'm hoping that it does, because it's such a wonderful thing. So.
Does that mean that during the summer or until the fall that you can't go take out kayaks and do anything?
You know, during the pandemic, they were doing rentals out of the aquatic center, and I think that's closed right now. So I would just say, give it another month. We may know more, and I'd be happy to get back to you and let you know what's happening. So
that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, both of you two. You were, it was so great. I think, you know, I used to come home from when we were out in the field shooting, and even if it was a cold day or, you know, no matter what. And I remember I walked in one day and my husband just looked at me and he said, "You're really happy, aren't you?" And I said, "I'm really happy." Because whenever we were out fulfilling these dreams with people, it was just really gratifying. So thank you. Next up, let's see if I want to find people. Karen, where's Karen? And Paul. Okay, Paul Ricard, many of you know, he's taught for OLLI as well, watercolor, really beautiful work. After we met each other, the only time I've ever commissioned a painting, I wanted Paul to do one of my husband's boat, and he did a beautiful painting of this beautiful boat my husband built. And Karen, there's Karen. Karen is very involved with all things OLLI, and the two of them got together for well, Karen, why don't you tell what you did and where?
We went painting.
Yes. Yes. What kind of painting?
Well, we watercolor, and we were out on the beach, and it was just a beautiful day, and you know, I can still feel it.
Can you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you reacted when you got the call? I think I called you. I think. Do you remember?
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. I was surprised, and then I was embarrassed.
Embarrassed?
Yeah. Do I want to be on TV? And a little bit nervous, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And then it got exciting.
Yeah. All of the above, right?
Yeah.
Well, both Evelyn and Karen, what was the experience like for you to be on television? Both of you. What did you think?
Scared. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, It hasn't happened yet. Well, yes, it has.
It has. It's official. It has.
Yes, I've seen that trailer on TV.
Uh-huh.
And yep, that's me.
Yeah. And Evelyn, it seemed like both of you, though, once we got going, it felt like you just got so lost in the activity that you weren't really aware of the cameras.
Not at all. It was just nothing else was happening.
Yeah.
You know, nothing else was happening. It was good. It was like reading a book with somebody. All those years that I was working, and during my breaks, I'd read a book so that nobody would talk to me. And this time I had somebody with me talking to me.
Yeah. And Evelyn, I remember you saying to me something about like you wanted to do this, but you didn't really think about the TV part of it until later. And then it was like, what have I gotten myself into?
That's right. Mike made it easy.
Yeah.
I was so caught up in the moment and so appreciative of him and of all of you that it became inconsequential. I was into the moment, and the moment did not include cameras.
Yeah.
Except when the drone first flew over.
Yeah. But I think, as you can see from that little clip we just shared, we had a second kayak there when they were on the water. And in that kayak, another shout out, David Thompson is his name, who's now on the payroll at KEET, which I'm really, really happy because he deserves, he's a great young man. He was, here you have this crew. I mean, Sam's young, but he's in his 50s. But I'd say, hey, David, could you would you go up on that stump with your camera and get a shot? Oh yeah. And he'd head off and he'd climb up the stump. And so he would do anything and everything for us. So we put him in that second double kayak with Damon, what's his name, Mike? Damon Wright?
Damon McGuire, who was another guide for HVAC,
Yeah.
a friend of mine.
Yeah. And he was wonderful because he had to paddle, he had to keep up kind of by himself, as David was in the bow seat. And so you'll be able to see more drone footage about how they navigated all the way around. Paul, I wanted to get back to you with my eye on the time. What was it like? I remember you were wonderfully gracious and enthused when I called you. What did you think about being there and being on camera?
Well, Karen was so wonderful to work with. She was so excited about being there, and I think we were both a bit, nervous about being on the screen, and it's a risk, taking. It's all like that, and I have to say, Karen, being out there doing a watercolor painting in a very difficult medium, she really was spontaneous and loose and free with the watercolors, and I think for me, just seeing her enjoying it was just a gift. Art is so wonderful to share and experience, but to just see her, light up, and I really loved her painting, and
Yes.
It was a wonderful experience. You were wonderful, just the way you made us relax. It was kind of like talking to a friend, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that feels like something I think all of us on the crew, and we experienced with everyone that we were lucky enough to work with, is there was just this, there was a great feel among all of us. And I think maybe part of that was because we were taking people out to do something they'd always wanted to do. So there was that, my brother and I used to call it when we were little, the Disneyland excitement. Because we're going to Disneyland, oh my God, and so we kept feeling that at different activities that we were sharing with people. So as I mentioned, that to me was the highlight, is just watching how people just settled right into these great relationships. Now, I mean, so here we have Mike and Evelyn who have continued to kayak, right? Right?
Yep.
Karen, I know you're pretty busy. You haven't done any more watercolors yet, have you?
No, but you know what?
What?
It's much better than the Disneyland thing, because Disneyland ends. And yes, I remember this or that or whatever. But now for me, literally, everything I see, all of the clouds have so much more color in them. All of the rocks are so many different shades of color, and everything is more vibrant. And I like color,
Yeah.
but there's so much more of it. And the gradations, this has lasted for me so intensely for such a long time.
That's wonderful.
And when we had the interview, I had told you how 25 or 30 years ago I'd gotten a painting kit at a garage sale.
Yeah.
I brought it with me up here. Still hadn't used it. Well, I now have a watercolor painting set all ready to go. And as soon as my knees give out and I can't work with the California Native Plant Society anymore, I'm ready.
Well, and I think that if I can kind of circle back to the original topic, what's on your bucket list? I think that's part of why I believe in them, is that what do you take away? It's more than, sure, it's a sense of accomplishment. But I think everybody walked away with a different little gifts from what the experience is all about, whether it was overcoming a big fear or whether it was learning a new skill that they put into play, which we've seen in a couple of our episodes. So that's part of why I like bucket lists. And I think each of our guests Evelyn, I'm not going to speak for you, but the takeaway is pretty significant, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe me, I wasn't fishing because I got to feel it with you. And then Karen, for you to articulate that. Mike, yeah.
I want to say one thing, it was really an amazing experience. And the other thing that's really the long lasting effect was that the friendship now, this new friendship I have with Evelyn, which will continue. We're going to all get together for dinner when the COVID thing's behind us. We'll do more.
Great.
And that's so exciting to me.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
I think that's a really wonderful side effect of all of this. When people watch our show, when all of you see our show, I think you come away from it with a feeling of camaraderie in Humboldt County. You will see the people like Mike who gladly from their heart did whatever our person wanted to do, whether it was ride a horse on the beach or learn how to be a blacksmith at the Blue Ox. And there was such joy to it that you will never look at that activity again without thinking of how it works and how these people had a wonderful bucket list fulfilled.
Yeah, and thank you, Jan, because that reminds me that I'll get to you, Paul. I see your hand. But it reminds me that when we went into the pandemic, and of course, bucket lists became impossible, at least, for the foreseeable future. And I thought, oh boy, is this show just going to kind of fall flat? People are going to go, what's on your bucket list? I can't even go to the grocery store. How can I do anything on my bucket list? But the more I saw each of the episodes coming together, I think what you're going to get when you tune in is, sure, it's just going to be some pure escapism entertainment, which is you'll just be really engaged. But I also think there's a lot of optimism and inspiration from our guests and all of the agencies and businesses who supported us, because, vaccines are coming. It's not going to last forever. Now's the time so I'm actually ending up being really grateful, believe it or not, that we're going to premiere now, because I think it's a little boost for people to know that there is life after COVID. And join us for some fun on Thursday nights. Paul, I wanted to get to you. Yes, what were you going to add?
Well, Karen, you just made my day hearing that when you go out and about, that you look at the clouds and all the nuances of the landscape. And it's just wonderful to hear that. And I want to invite you to come out to one of our plein air paint outs, which we'll host after COVID. We'll be hosting a Sunday paint out that's open to everybody. And if you'd like to come on a paint out, and it's free, just friend me on Facebook and ask to join Sunday paint out. And I feel like I made a friend too. I know, we haven't really got to see each other than the other class that you took, but it would sure be fun to join up with you again out on the landscape.
Well, actually, I do get to see your paintings each week. I get the notices, And I get to look at all of those paintings every week, even though I can't come out right now. So,
We had another question. Someone wants to know, Evelyn. So Evelyn, are you going to get back out on the water, do you think?
Yes, Mike has made it possible.
You already have, right? A couple times?
It's so beautiful. It's my connection with, it's spiritual. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, good.
And I can still do it. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Do it very well.
Any other questions? Kim, where are we at here? How are we doing on
I
time?
have a question.
Yeah.
How hard is it on the shoulders to do that rowing?
For me, that wasn't hard. Sitting was hard. I worried about my legs cramping, but that part was okay.
Okay.
That's an individual
Yes.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and keep in mind, we had people there who were, I think our youngest participant was 62 and our oldest was 82. And we had everybody in between. So I've got another, Jane, what's your question? I think Jane has a question.
I'm going to ask Karen why she can't, during these raining days, get some of her wonderful native plants and start painting them. Because
that's
all
nice.
those features that you expressed about the clouds and the sky, you could do with your plants. And that is how you spend so much of your time, is with the Native Plant Society and growing those plants at your own home.
Well, I'm working with the dirt. And the dirt and the paint don't really mix.
I'm working with the dirt.
Yes, but you can transfer to using your paints to look at the dirt and the plants as they're growing out of the dirt. And because those pictures that you create could be used to promote your native plants. Because I've been seeing that being done in other art forms, like with ink people, you know, which we're having on next week. But look at some of those examples, because if you started doing that with your native plants, it would be a way to promote them.
Mhm.
And I think you might find that a neat way to pursue this with or without Paul.
Well, see, that's why my plan is, when I have no choice but to give up going to the nursery, you know, maybe 3 times a week, that I'll have a housekeeper and some things like that. And then I will have more time. But for right now, I'm actively working with them. And then I will get a chance to practice on the weekends. And then I would be able to do that.
Well, and I think that that's a really good point, Karen, because I think whatever we do in life, once it's attached to pressure or a should, I mean, it's a great idea. And yet if it's not time for you to do that,
yeah,
it takes the joy out of it. Yeah. And so, you know, I think
I'm not going to be losing this, because I carried that first very nice box set of paints with me for 30 years. And now I have a whole new one that I even know how to use a little bit. I just need to practice.
Kim, are we doing okay on time?
Yeah, we have about, just 25 more minutes or so.
Oh, okay, good. Because I see 2 more of our guests are here. Roberta Dugan, say hello. And Mike and Barbara. Is that you, Barbara? It is Barbara Barger. Yes, yes. I'd like to introduce both of them because they were our guinea pigs as well. Roberta, your show is going to be your second week. So you are March 4th. And Barbara, you are Thursday night. So, okay, turn your mind. I want to ask your questions about what do you think? What did you think of the experience, generally speaking? Roberta?
It was absolutely incredible. And I'm just loved every part of the interviews. Just the very first interview when I met with you and Jan, and I thought, oh, they'll never choose me. And, you know, and then when you called me, I was like, oh my goodness, how can I possibly do this and fulfill all the practice? And I don't want to give anything away, but it was a tremendous challenge for me to even think I could pull this off, because I didn't want to, I didn't want to fail. I wanted to just do it. And I loved it. It just was the most exciting thing of my 60s. I'm still in them.
Oh, that's great to hear. Great. Well, when it was your enthusiasm was infectious. I mean, you were one of the people where I just left feeling, oh God, this is so much fun. Barbara, how about you? What do you remember about when we called? You turn your mic on, please. There we go. No, I can't hear you yet. Kim, you got any ideas?
Yeah, her mic, now she's muted. Now you're muted. Try unmuting yourself.
Unmute.
Again. But it's not, I don't hear any volume.
Well, Barbara may end up being our mystery guest, ladies and
There
gentlemen.
we go. There we
There
go.
we go. Okay, when you got the call.
I guess this means I'm really a senior citizen.
No, boomers and seniors. It was 60 and above. So
Yeah. But no, I was pretty tickled. And I know I don't know how much you want to say, but the things that I had originally thought of weren't things that were feasible. So I ended up picking from the list.
Right. We brainstormed another list with your help, and all of a sudden you were like good to go. And I thought, I never saw that one coming, and I don't want to give it away. People have to tune in Thursday to find out what it was, because it was I say that it was one of my favorites, and then I say that about all of them. It was just really fun because I never expected, I'm going to say, a woman in particular to make the choice you made.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I liked the most about it, the experience, was having my granddaughter with me.
Yes. And speak to that a bit, because we had another one. I really, part of my original rationale was really wanting to see if we could get some of that. And Aurora, right? That's your granddaughter?
Yes.
What did you think of the whole experience?
Oh, she had a blast. I mean, between the event itself, which she had never attended one before. And just, like seeing that grandma was going to be on TV, she thought that's pretty special.
Okay, good. I was just sorry, I got distracted by a question. Yeah, she was pretty cute that day. I was really happy to have her. We've got some good stuff of her in the episode as well. I just took a question from the chat room, and I think I'm not sure who sent it, but it was the 82, the oldest person was, yes, 82 was the oldest person we took on an adventure. And she was a real trooper. Evelyn, I don't know how old you were at the time. Should I ask?
You can ask, but I don't remember.
But yes, we went all the way up to 82. And on that particular one, which week 5, it was really great because her daughter joined us for that day. And that one, we traveled some miles and made it happen. But interestingly to me, that bucket lists in general have just had such a bad rap that people think that they have to be these grandiose, huge, complicated, expensive things. And if there's one thing this show proves to all of us, is they can just be in your own backyard, and you can have the experience of a lifetime. Any more questions from anyone? We're going to wrap it up here. So I'd like to reiterate. Kim, do you have any other questions in the?
Did you want to show the other clip?
Did I never show the other clip?
With Paul and Karen?
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. My apologies, because it's beautiful.
And you see the clouds that are up there?
Yeah.
While it's still wet, let's give the impression of some
clouds. Yeah, I like it. Look at that beautiful atmosphere that you're getting. See, that's distance. There's no detail in that. Oh man, you're getting some nice effects there. Oh, it's looking beautiful.
Okay.
That's just how watercolor is supposed to look. That's beautiful. So I want to give the impression of a wave breaking. So I'm going to come a little bit under the light and I'm going to go like this. And you see how underneath the wave there are these kind of little striation marks, or little marks where the surf's come.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I'm so sorry I forgot that. Well, there we are, Karen and Paul, right? On the water, doing watercolors. Yes.
And wait till you see her final result. You've got to tune in for that.
Oh, you won't believe it. She's a natural. She's an absolute natural. Thank you. Let's end with that. I'm checking over here. Any other questions that I missed? I don't think so. We've got time for more questions if anyone has them.
I would like to add, could I add?
Yes.
That if you would, everybody who watches the show as we go along, if you could let KEET know by email or letter or phone that you saw this show and enjoyed it, that's how we're going to get to make more local programming, and that's how we're going to keep our great KEET station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And put it on your calendar. I went and put it on my calendar this morning for 7:30 on Thursday night. And the next 6 weeks, right?
Right, that's right. And what's really amazing in this day and age of technology that all of us have figured out even more in the pandemic, you're going to be able to watch it on the website, right, David? KEET.org. Yeah. And YouTube channel, Sam said. KEET has a YouTube channel. So no matter where, I'll be honest with you folks, I have a friend who lives in Australia and he's just waiting to watch it on KEET. So it's really great now that we have access so many different ways to be able to view local programming. So by all means, let your friends and family know that even if they're not here, or if for whatever reason, they don't get KEET, there are other ways. So,
What's the address for the KEET channel?
Just KEET.org. Okay.
Even on YouTube?
What's the YouTube channel, David? Is it?
What you can do is you can go to KEET.org, and down at the very bottom, they got the little YouTube logo. And also at the top, you'll see a thing that says KEET on YouTube when we have all of the shows that are available on YouTube. So once they're posted, if it's not on YouTube yet, you won't see it, but once it is, you'll see it up at the top. So there's a couple of different places at KEET.org you can get to the YouTube feed of it.
And Sandy, you have a question?
I have a statement. If we want to have local programming, please contribute to KEET so that we can do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Ever so little or ever so large.
Mm-hmm.
Same applies to OLLI.
Yeah.
You can become a friend of OLLI. So we need both to make these things happen.
I wonder what it is that my two loves are OLLI and KEET. Well, HLOC too. Jenny,
quality programming.
Yeah. Jenny,
You're on both.
Jenny, go ahead.
Yeah, I also have a comment. I do not have a TV, have never had a TV, so I'm delighted to be, but I joined KEET in order to be able to see programming on KEET. And I believe that this new business of the YouTube and being able to see it online is relatively new. So I don't know if I can do it at the same time it's being shown.
If you there is a link on our homepage, and if you're living inside the KEET service area, which you are,
yeah,
there's a live stream, so you don't have to be a member, you don't have to have passport or anything. It's the live signal, and you'll see the link right there in like the middle of the homepage. Click on it, and when it's airing on KEET HD, it's also right there on that stream live at the same time.
Thank you so much. This is an
Sure.
absolute, this is so stupendous for me to feel that I can see stuff on KEET online and be part of the entire thing, because you do so much beautiful stuff. So that's my whoop-de-doo for KEET.
Thanks, Jenny. Somebody, any other questions? Did somebody else have a hand up? Yes, over here, Kay. Yes.
I did. I just wanted to reiterate the donations to KEET, but also give them your ideas for programming, because I think this local key that we have is really important. And when you watch, bring a friend, tell a friend.
Yes.
Because we need to expand that viewership, and it's been wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
I also think an interesting opportunity for KEET is, since we have lost the local news from channels 3 and 6, you might consider putting in a local news program daily to
weekly is about what we can handle right now, but we have had conversations about doing it more often than that. It's a matter of funding and personnel, and you know the drill, but we certainly are having discussions about that possibility.
Yeah, I think it'd be great, particularly if they can't resolve it or bump everybody's charges up an enormous amount on cable.
We're lucky to have you, David and KEET, and all of your, like I said, part of what got me back to this project originally was Sam and then David, just because I really enjoy working with all of you so much. Jan, I guess with that, if there are no other questions, so 7:30 Thursday night, episode 1. I hope.
I want to let you all know about next week. We are going to have Libby Maynard talking about everything you've always wanted to know about the ink people, but didn't know to ask. So we look forward to seeing you again next Monday at noon to have a discussion with Libby and all the fun things that they're doing as well.
Thank you all.
All right.
Let me know what you think.
See you at the next OLLI class too.
Alrighty.
That's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Thanks so much. And do join us in our classes.